It's Inside Georgia Real Estate with Deborah Morton, the owner of the agency Atlanta. 448-720-750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. Let's take a couple calls. In the studio with us, Jeff Ledford, External Affairs Officer, Georgia Association of Realtors. And now get back to our question that I asked before we went to break. Charles.
Yes, I was wondering if I could sell, like, part of my property. Like, I live in Upson County. I'm Thomas. This is Charles from Thomaston. Talked to you last night, Shelby.
Okay.
But could I sell, like, the acreage I have behind my house? I have 18 acres, and the house sits on about 3. You know, if you look at the fence line.
Sounds.
Could I sell off?
You can sell part of it if depends how your deed is recorded and what you signed with your mortgage company. The mortgage company likely, and I don't know this for sure because I haven't seen how your documents were written, but most likely the mortgage company has a lien based on your residence, the home and the acreage. So just check your documents with your mortgage. You would have had in the packet, the fat packet of papers the attorney gave you at closing. It's in there. What the mortgage has there's a lien attached to the property and it's probably attached to the house. I help people do things like that all the time. So I don't, like, just from this casual conversation, it doesn't sound like a problem to me. I don't work Thomaston, but if you'd like a referral to somebody in the area that's reputable, send me a message on InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com, and I'm happy to connect you with a pro in your area.
Yeah. All right, Charles.
Well, that sounds good. Appreciate that. And I'm sorry I didn't win the contest last night, Joe.
Oh, yes, Charles. Okay. Thank you. But, happy Mother's Day to your family, Charles. We got to go on to our next question.
To all.
Yep. Let's go to Ray. Go ahead, Ray. Thanks, Charles, for calling. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, hello. Good to speak with you. Apparently, several years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in favor of a municipality to acquire a private piece of property so that they could increase their tax-based revenue from that location. How much of a problem is that going to be for people like me who can see development coming my way in my residential location?
Jeff?
Well, so are you said the Supreme Court ruled that the local municipality can take that land for that purpose. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
This happened about 3 or 4 years ago in the Northeast.
I think that was a little further back in time. It does seem kind of fresh. I think what you're talking about was out of New London, Connecticut.
Yeah.
In Georgia, we actually did put something in place to protect you with that. And so a municipality, the last time we worked on this was in 2017. I think it was House Bill 434. It amended, it's in Georgia law, it's under Title 22, Chapter 1, and it's under eminent domain. The local government cannot take your property unless they have determined there's 2 things they have to look at. It either has to be a public right-of-way, like a road construction. That's a different part of the law, but eminent domain for what this was for a different type of use. It was for economic development. They cannot take it simply because they want to and there's a better use.
Right.
They can only take it if it's truly blighted, and we put in an extremely high threshold for blight. Has to be 2 out of 5 things. There's a list. Part of it is a property that has been a haven for crime, or it is has been burned down but not completely removed. There's a lot of little things like that, but they cannot simply just take the property. They have 2 options if they do take it. One is that they either have to maintain it for a public use for at least 20 years, or they can put it onto the market, but only for the same legal use. And so, in other words, not simply to increase the tax base.
All right.
Okay, that answers the question.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling.
When we were going to break, we were talking about HOAs and tiny home legislation, right? And I asked the question, why would the government have the power to tell me what I can build on my own land?
That's a great question. So that's something that we're always looking at is limiting some of what the government says you can and cannot do. Currently in Georgia, it's estimated a little above 27% the cost of a home is in government regulations.
Okay.
So
That's a great. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
27%.
over a quarter of the price of a home. Yeah.
It's just in regulations.
Just in
Right.
regulations.
And
So
That's
we
nuts.
So when we had talking about the Georgia Home Builders Association, this was the topic: is any reduction we can get in the costs of permitting, because that's from the time they purchase the land before you even see a home go up. There is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars invested, and time is money.
And it's just in regulations, 27% just in regulations. That if you took those regulations away, your home is now 27% less expensive to buy or build, right? Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, and obviously you can't take all regulation out. You got to have some level of
for
safety,
safety's
some
sake,
things like that.
we absolutely need
soundly built homes, that kind of thing. But anywhere you can reduce that, it makes homes that much more affordable. Which that's the key. I always say there's not one
it's not
magic
just
pill.
that. Builders are hesitant to the amount of risk.
Oh, yeah.
If with developers with land and building, that's why they're not building excessive homes. Like the inventory levels remain low because they're not willing to put the risk out to build. And there's an assessment there, and that's the cost.
Absolutely. One of the keys that we did get done this year was in Senate Bill 447. And what it did was it simply addressed permitting and the time frame on permitting. So if I go to build a home and the process is taking months upon months, I'm paying on every single month that land, everything that I've.
So what would happen is they would submit a plan, and the city or the county or the authority would send it back with a request for a revision, and that would restart the clock ticking on the amount of time.
Exactly.
And that was the delay.
So what ended up passing, essentially, they have 45 days to either approve or deny. And if they do have that request, they have 15 days when that comes back to either approve or deny. So
really
it
shrunk the time.
That's good.
Yeah, shrunk
the time. That doesn't extend out the period. Time is money.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yes. So on that, but on the affordability issue is where we're going with this.
Sure.
And back to the tiny home thing, it's in the media right now because let's say California, not that we want Georgia to turn into California by any stretch. Yeah, I don't mind shouting that from the rooftops. But we do have issues with multi-generational home. We have affordability issues, and we have families that want to live together on their properties. And having opportunities to do this would be good. Now, a homeowners association, if it's not allowed, it's not allowed. Right. However, you could go to your HOA board and make a request, and then it's choice. Your homeowners association can decide to deny your request. Or they could say, you know what, based on the architectural plans you submitted, it meets our standards and we could do it. But now that gives the authority to the neighborhood association to make that decision.
And as far as the government saying you can do this or not, that was the key of this bill. So this did not preempt a homeowners association, given that's a private agreement.
But it sounded that way in the media.
It did.
Yeah.
What this does is there was a case out of Calhoun, Georgia last year. And it was challenging whether you could build tiny homes or not. And they ended up prevailing. And so this was something that is approaching this. It would only apply to one dwelling behind a homesteaded property. And a local government could not prohibit it based solely on the size. Other things would still come to play. So if your septic can't handle it, your septic's not going to handle it.
Right.
If you've already maxed out the coverage on your lot, then you're not going to be able to do it. So you still have to comply with the regulations. It's just it can't be denied based on it being a small dwelling.
And I think going slow is smart because we also have to consider the burden on water supply, school systems, roads, traffic. Police.
Okay, now it makes sense. See, okay, I'm okay now. I'm
Good.
okay.
I'm
The government can do this now. Yeah, because if you didn't do it, everyone would start doing it, and it put too much pressure on the infrastructure.
The infrastructure.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm cool with it.
Right.
I'm cool.
Well, and then what that could do, think about in Atlanta, we've got people who maybe want to downsize, but to replace their 2-story home that's too big for them, to buy something else costs more than they're going to get on this home, and that doesn't make sense because it's half the size or less. So we have that's why homes are not being freed up. We don't have homes to sell because people won't leave them because there's no place to go.
Right.
Something has to give, and this might be an opportunity to create housing that is affordable and that fits people's lifestyles and helps build community. There's nothing wrong with families living more condensed. Grandchildren have access to grandparents. And I mean, that's back to community, which is what I try to always circle this back to. How do you build communities? It's through housing.
Exactly. Yeah.
404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk, Inside Georgia Real Estate with Deborah Morton. We still have Jeff Ledford. He's the External Affairs Officer for the Georgia Realtor. He works with the politicians to help the people, the realtors, the buyers and the sellers, us, the community. You talked about community. When we come back, I want you guys to talk about what's going on up at Ackworth.
Oh, yes.
Up in Ackworth, I should say.
Big things. We got Finley Roofing up there cooking barbecue at the Smoke on the Lake Barbecue Festival.
We're going to talk about that. And then I want Jeff, when we come back, I want you to tell us one final piece of legislation that the legislators are still looking at that the people should call up and ask them to pass.
Sure.
If there is one. All right, 448-720-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will be right back.